me just start off, as always, with the disclaimer that this video will contain spoilers and some content may be too disturbing or too horrifying for some viewers, so viewer discretion is always advised. We're all familiar with Rousseau's often amended quote, "Eat the rich," and similarly Hannibal's "Eat the rude," which I love. But have we really thought about what these two morsels of ideology really refer to? The menu is here to serve you a sort of cinematic satire to this main dish philosophy. This horror film, leaning more towards social commentary, was released at the end of 2022, more specifically November 18th, almost a week before Thanksgiving, which is just perfect timing in my opinion, and stars Queen's Gambit Anya Taylor-Joy, as well as Avada Kedavra screaming Ralph Fiennes, who has a name that is not phonetically sound. Yeah, just try to pronounce his name without knowing how to pronounce it. It's a mind effort. The menu takes a look at the classism present in the world around us and explores the privileges and advantages those above a certain pay grade possess, while exposing the hypocrisy and deep character flaws of those who can pay away their problems and bribe their dark tendencies into the recesses of society. As a cinematic story, the menu gives the financially well-off a taste of their own medicine. Chef Julian Slowick, aka Voldemort, sells a unique culinary experience at his exclusive restaurant called Hawthorne. While perfecting the art of innovative gastro tasting, he begins to unveil a brand new menu, one that is as shocking as the audacity of the guests served. The first few courses seem innocent, though pretentious enough to probably disappoint Gordon Ramsay, and reveal some background on the chef extraordinaire. He didn't have the easiest childhood, for his price, but was able to pull himself up by the bootstraps and become a renowned chef. Now, before we get into the real scheme behind dinner, we have to look at the wrench thrown into Chef Julian's plan, Margot. In the very beginning, the maitre d' mentions that Margot is not on the +1 guest list and isn't supposed to be there. I'm pretty sure she already felt that way before she even got on the island, but it's revealed in later scenes that the reason why Margot is so out of place is more to do with her societal role than her career of choice. However, we don't know exactly what it is until much later. We'll come back to Margot. We have some slights given to many of the guests who mostly can be associated with the artistic scum of the earth, cheaters, critics, sellouts, fanatics, and frauds alike, with one of my favorites being the extra side given to the food critic, but begin to take a sharp left turn with the suicide of one of the sous chefs. While this is dramatic and a bit overkill, story-wise, I get what the message is with this particular sequence. The sous chef has all these ambitions and aspirations to be great, but due to so many critics, internal and external, it's all too much pressure at the thought of failure or lack of adequate talent. And it only gets better when Chef gives the guests a front row seat to the next spectacle, the fall of angel investor Doug Varick. Now, the angel wings are a bit too obvious in my opinion, but help the audience make the connection to what Varick's role was in Chef's career. Even though the financial situation was more COVID-19's fault than any other, the roles involving the two men are far more significant, as one was in a more profitable position than the other. Varick benefited at Chef Slowick's expense. Slowick's whole career is catered to pleasing investors, customers, and those who can pay him to stay open and create, with the expectation that he serves them and caters to their pleasures. This, of course, puts Chef in a vulnerable spot, having to always play to the audience or becoming what one of my former art teachers would say, an art hoe. To survive. Even after all his hard work, talent, and creation, he is still living to please someone else. As an artist, that's just your worst nightmare, and as a paid artist, that's just your reality. The next shock course we get is the confrontation between one of the female staff members who was sexually harassed by Chef, and wow, we get kind of the pot calling the kettle black hypocrisy here. Because who are you to judge, Julian? Anyway, we get a bit of cat and mouse chase amongst the male members as Chef allows them to attempt an escape off of the island, which is ultimately in vain. But one guy does get a bonus treat because he was the last to be found, so woohoo! While this is happening, the female guests all become part of a chef's table. See what I did? Okay. And try to convince the female staff member to help them, but oh my god, it was actually her idea that everyone be killed. So who's really the mastermind here? Moving from passive confrontation to just confrontation, Chef tells the guests how he really feels about them and gets to the bottom line that they're the bloodsuckers who killed his passion for cooking and have benefited off of his exploits like they do with all of those employed in the service industry. So, now that we've been through all of that, we return to Margot, who was a last-minute +1 and part of the working class and not the elites. Chef Julian gives Margot a choice. You can die with your fellow blue-collars or those who pay for your services. Neither is great for her, and she is revealed to be an escort who was actually formerly employed by one of the guest presents. Yikes. Won't get into that one, though. In the next few scenes, we get to the meat of Tyler's repulsive character and see why he can't keep a girlfriend and has to pay to get bitches. The fanatic, who is the exemplary figure of those who are expert outsiders to a craft but lack the ability to produce or create, finally gets his just desserts when Chef orders him to cook something. And you guessed it, he can't do it, and is ridiculed by Julian, and honestly, I think I'd rather be yelled at by Chef Gordon Ramsay in this scenario. This is probably true for Tyler as well, as the rejection of his idol sends him to his death. Chef then sends Margot to fetch a barrel for dessert, which, okay, and she detours to his forbidden home where she fends off the vindictive maitre d' and gets more of a background on Chef Julian's career, taking a photographic journey through his humble beginnings as a fry cook to becoming a miserable chef. And she also finds a radio and calls for help. Margot arrives with the barrel, and soon after, help seemingly arrives, with the plot twist being that the guy is just an employee of Chef Julian. Shocker. With no way out, Margot comes up with something that wraps up this film in a cliche, and I am honestly a little disappointed. Margot gets a greasy burger while managing to get out alive, and Chef gets his passion reignited for a moment before the entire place goes up in flames, even though I always thought revenge was a dish best served cold. The ending highlight would have to be the visual of the s'mores dessert as the rich literally become the menu and meet their demise. Although overly dramatic, they all get their just desserts. The basic premise of the movie tries to align itself with is the loss of artistic passion for success. As an artist myself, it is difficult to resist playing for an audience. Usually you can recognize or at least figure out the key components to creating something that a general audience will like or accept. However, in my experiences, the pieces I truly love and I feel capture the depth and passion of art rarely are supported or praised by the objective viewer. So naturally, disillusionment sets in, and as time goes by, you find yourself jaded, stressed, and a little disgusted with yourself at the mediocrity you've accepted as a standard practice for financial and social success. I'm not bitter. Not at all. And while you can become bitter at the people who support this facade you've created and profit off of your exploitation, I wouldn't recommend murder as an appropriate avenue for confrontation. But as an artist, I can understand the feelings behind it. It also satirizes the parasitic nature of classes in society, with one always benefiting on the other's struggle, exploitation, and limitations. While it's pretty entertaining, I think it hyperbolizes some areas of cliche that don't translate in effect as well as they could. But who am I to say? I'm now the artist becoming the critic at this point, and as a wise sage once said,
you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
So I guess Chef knew of this as well, not just escaping accountability from his murder's plot, but also recognizing that he has become the villain as well. Punishment fits the crime, I suppose. Even though the crime is the punishment in this case, or the punishment is the actual crime, or whatever. You get what I'm trying to say. Just be thankful this wasn't a dinner party and you didn't get a Dundee thrown at your plasma TV by your candle-making girlfriend. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and until next time, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye! I also went this whole time without lighting this candle, so yeah, I'll imagine a flame there. Maybe I can do some fucking editing magic and put a flame there. I don't know. All right. Anyway, bye.